absolutely are. As we head into our regional weather here, I mean, speaking of fog, hey, here's a live view in Milwaukee. It's
There's
still there.
some
But our main focus really is on tomorrow here across the entire state of Wisconsin. We are tracking a cold front that's going to make its way through and likely bring us a line of thunderstorms that very well could be strong, if not severe. So watching that severe potential very closely. Looks like our visibility map isn't working right now, but visibility is doing okay. It's just going to be those lakeshore communities kind of dealing like yesterday with some of the fog moving in, then rolling back over the lake and then moving back in. Otherwise, it is going to be a pretty quiet day today across southeast Wisconsin. But fog, thanks in part to some of these higher dew points. We saw 60-degree dew points yesterday. We've got them again today. They're going to climb even more tomorrow. Ample moisture in the area, which of course could fuel some of those stronger thunderstorms for tomorrow afternoon. So plan on still that muggier feel here through about Friday. And then over the weekend, that comfy weather. Dew points down in the 40s will be back. Feels a little early to be talking about high dew points, but we are about midway through May. And we know that once we get those dew points in the 60s, that's when we start to feel some of those muggier conditions. Excuse me. And we've got it already across the entire state. So we're all kind of in the same boat here when it comes to having all of that moisture. So central southern Wisconsin doing pretty well. Looks like we may be starting to see a few little pop-ups here southeast of La Crosse, west of Madison. These are the spots today, so primarily southwest and south central Wisconsin, that have the chance for a few pop-up showers or a few pop-up thunderstorms. Not going to rule them out completely in some of our inland areas just away from the lake, but southeast Wisconsin does look to stay pretty dry today. And northern Wisconsin, a few more clouds with a few of those pop-ups as well. You can tell it's a little unsettled still. We've got that low pressure out towards the east that was still influencing us yesterday. But now we're focusing on the system out west. That's what's going to move our way for Thursday. So for today, that system could already bring some severe weather. You can see a slight and a marginal risk across the upper plains, the Dakotas into Nebraska, extending eastward here into parts of Minnesota as well as Iowa. There's also still a little bit of a severe threat out east with that very slow moving low pressure system. But we really are focusing in on what's out west, as that is going to be a stronger storm overall. And for Thursday, it's going to be moving into very favorable air for storm development and, again, severe weather. You can tell where the bullseye is. I mean, Wisconsin, we are in it, extending also into southeastern Michigan and far northern Illinois and Indiana, but a good chunk of the state now under that level 3 enhanced risk for severe weather. Southwestern parts of the state in that level 2 slight. So we really are, as we just talked about, in the bullseye for some of this potential for severe weather. Let's go through timing. Now, today, once again, most of southeast Wisconsin will stay dry. We could just see a few spotty thunderstorms, Madison into Eau Claire and Rhinelander. So northern Wisconsin a little bit more active today, as well as western Wisconsin than those of us in the east. Could see a bit more fog lakeside overnight tonight into tomorrow morning, maybe a few storms out west to start the day tomorrow. We won't see that here locally, though. We'll be watching late in the afternoon for that storm initiation. So once we hit those early afternoon hours, we'll have to watch to see how these storms are developing out west. This is right around 3:30 with that line developing just west of Madison. And then it's very possible, as we are really in our peak daytime heating, peak moisture here in southeast Wisconsin, that those storms strengthen as they move through our area. Now notice just south of Milwaukee how that line looks to be cut off a little bit. It is possible that we see more isolated storms down towards the south, whereas the more organized line favoring some of our northern communities. Regardless, any thunderstorm activity we do see will have the potential to be severe. It's also worth mentioning we are going to have the lake breeze still. We'll see how that helps, or maybe it could fuel still some more thunderstorm development. That is, one uncertainty there. And then we may also still have just a little bit of a cap, some drier air at our middle levels of the atmosphere. That could also help us out a little bit. So I will say, nothing is set in stone. There is still a little bit of uncertainty, but a growing threat for severe weather, even as compared to the data we were looking at yesterday. So still pay attention, be weather aware. I think 4 to maybe 8 p.m. is going to be our time frame for southeast Wisconsin. Wisconsin, as well as the Green Bay area up into Door County. So really that late afternoon into our evening hours for that line to make its way on through. Now Friday, most of the activity will be in northern Wisconsin. Not really expecting severe weather out of that, but those of us towards the south could see a few lingering thunderstorms maybe later on Friday afternoon. Thursday is going to be the main event though, and we are looking at severe threats ranging from that strong straight line wind, because it is going to be a line of storms moving through for most of the area. We could see large hail out of this, and then the risk of tornadoes, relatively speaking, is actually a bit high for southeast Wisconsin. And I will say, if we do end up seeing more isolated cells in some of our southern communities with the more organized line up north, I do think we'll have to watch for that tornado threat. So just all eyes to the skies come tomorrow afternoon. Again, we're still a day out. There is still some uncertainty, but there is also a pretty ripe environment, it looks like at this point, to have severe weather here locally and really across the state. We're going to see warm temperatures again today. We've seen it the last couple of days. Once again, 80s out west, lakeshore communities more so looking at the 70s, but there's even more heat out ahead of that cold front, record heat down towards the south and Texas. So we're going to hang on to some of those warm temperatures tomorrow as well as Friday, and then we'll begin to drop towards the weekend. In fact, this is Friday into Saturday. You can see at the upper levels some of that cooler air making its way on through. So we'll settle back to more 60-degree temperatures heading into your weekend. In fact, here's a look at your temperature trend over the next couple of days. You can see those 80s through Friday, but then back to the beautiful weather starting Saturday.
Yeah, a little cooler. It'll be tough to go from low 80s to low 60s
absolutely.
By the weekend, but it will be also refreshing and, just a hair below average for this time of year, so that's not too bad at all. And we're going to continue to watch, of course, for things to develop here, but we always like to watch what's happening around the country and around the world. I'm going to take you to Maryland first here to talk about some flooding. Cars and dumpsters just floating away in these rising floodwaters. Kind of a wet and wild scene in western Maryland on Tuesday. Heavy rainfall flooding homes and businesses. It's quite the video. Look at these poor cars. That's an insurance claim and a half right there. Local officials say an elementary school was evacuated as the water began to creep up to the second floor. The video captured in Westport shows parked cars and one whole dumpster just floating away. Water can be incredible. And then off to North Carolina for some more flooding. In fact, we have a report from North Carolina, so we'll roll that.
Heavy rains on Monday. What you're looking at is Swannanoa. That's about 10 miles to the east of Asheville. And we'll get to that in a second. In the interim, look at where I'm walking through the River Arts District here in Asheville, North Carolina. And this is an abandoned warehouse, an old paper factory opened up in 1941. And they were not expecting some of their structures to look like this. They planned on being in business today, but they're not. They're trying to figure out a path forward and how to reopen. And I'm standing here with all of the dry riverbed mud that came in 8 months ago as Hurricane Helene ravaged this area. But getting back to that rain, look at all of that in Swannanoa yesterday as it comes down, or came down, on all of the debris fields in many of those areas. And that is just not Swannanoa. It's many communities across these Blue Ridge Mountains on the Appalachian Range in western North Carolina. Now, the big concern was flash flooding and mudslides. Thankfully, in some of the most populated areas, we did not experience that, even though inches of rain fell, creating a trigger for those that survived the impacts of Helene 8 months ago. They're still in a rebuilding process, and to see all of that rain fall on the debris fields, not a welcoming sight for the mind and psyche of thousands of people here in these communities. And where I'm standing right now, here in the River Arts District of Asheville, well, let's rewind the video and look at the piled cars from 8 months ago as Helene made its way in late September, and the aftermath that ensued all the way into October. There was no power, there was no running water, there was no communication. Buildings, structures, homes destroyed by the explosion of rivers, streams, and creeks, creating images like what you see. And the cleanup has taken a long time, and it is still going on. Major roadways have reopened in the past couple months. Some side roadways up in the hills and mountains still compromised and still being worked on. communities not in order by any means, as aid groups are still launching themselves all around Western North Carolina, trying to help do their best, get this beautiful region of America back on their feet. And as we sit here 2 weeks away from the beginning of hurricane season, believe me, the folks here want all of that activity, that tropical activity, to stay away. What they need is people to come in, spend money at the hotels, restaurants, the Biltmore estates, local economies, the breweries, all the hiking trails, to get these communities back in order. And I'll leave you with this perspective here in this warehouse. If you can, Jeremy, look up here in the ceiling. What are we, 20 feet high in this abandoned warehouse? And you see some of the debris up there that got caught in the ceiling. That piece of wood plank up there. The only way that can get up there is if water comes rushing in, lifts it, and makes the debris rise up into the ceiling. That shows you the elevation and the power and the fury and the violence of the water that came in during Hurricane Helene's trek across so many different states and the impacts here in Western North Carolina. It's going to be still a very long recovery process, but we're glad that the heavy rain from Monday has made its way out. Reporting here in Asheville, North Carolina, Robert Ray, Fox Weather.
All right, thanks, Robert. An amazing report and some incredible video. Just a reminder of what Helene did, and of course the heavy rain of more recent days. And yeah, a couple weeks out from hurricane season, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. We're keeping an eye on you, Milwaukee. We can prove it. We've got cameras everywhere. There you are. I see you. We'll be back with more Wisconsin weather experts in just a couple of minutes. Welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts here on Fox Local and, of course, the FOX6 YouTube channel. It's been a busy day today. We've got a few busy days ahead as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Earlier in the show, we talked about our threat for severe weather come Thursday. Now, there's a lot that goes into forecasting severe weather, of course, for this upcoming event and for any event. Meteorologist Tom Walks gives us a closer look at what goes into it.
There's a lot of talk about the severe weather risk coming in for our Thursday, and I want to peel back the layers a little bit, and I think you'd find this interesting. You hear about AI and machine learning, right? Well, this also applies to the weather community and meteorology. For example, this is a forecast of severe weather probabilities that is machine learning based from folks at Colorado State University. And we'll zoom this in for you. This is for tomorrow, for Thursday, showing the higher probability areas for severe weather. And again, this is a machine learning that we are looking at here. And pretty interesting because there are these models that are coming out now, both longer term and shorter term when it comes to weather type modeling, when it comes to AI and machine learning. And again, Colorado State being one of these areas that they are doing research on machine learning and severe weather. Now I'm going to take you to Sky Vision Plus. Now this is the model that is showing our thunderstorm energy on Thursday. And I just want to show how this really starts to build. This is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You see that energy coming in and building from the west and southwest. What creates this energy? Well, it has to do with heat. And since we're going to be heating up again tomorrow, that's really going to supply the necessary energy in the atmosphere. Now, here's another ingredient. This is the supercell potential, or what we call the energy helicity index. Look at how that really starts to fire up by 12:30, and then that starts to move into our area during the afternoon and early evening. So this would increase potential for supercell thunderstorms, especially where the storms initially fire. So these are some of the ingredients that we are looking for, in addition to the fact that a cold front will be coming in from the west. That can provide lift during peak heating during the afternoon and evening, and we will also have what's called a trough of low pressure at about 18,000 feet coming in from the west. That's also going to be providing that lift. So all these ingredients come together to again focus our area on the potential for severe thunderstorms. These are the traditional models that we look at, but again, machine learning and AI coming a long way as well.
See, technology plays a huge role in so many careers, especially meteorology.
Right. Yeah, and it's a tool. I mean,
it is,
you know,
absolutely.
People are still going to want to be involved with this. We're going to still want human eyes on this at all points, but it's a tool, and it's a tool that hopefully will help us make forecasts even better.
You got it.
Can't make this show any better. Well, we could if we came back and did more of it. So let's do that in just a couple of minutes. Stick around.
Welcome back, everybody. One of the best parts of our job, going to school talks. Rob, you had the opportunity to do that.
Yes, and I love the little kids for sure. So I got to talk to Mrs. Fitz's class down in Cudahy at JE School there. And they were a great class, K-5 class. Shout out to you kiddos. We did a little demonstration. We did a couple of little experiments. We talked about air pressure. They wanted to know how clouds were made, the difference between hurricanes and tornadoes. They were asking like fourth grader level questions, and they're just K-5. So the future is in good hands, folks. They did a great job and so well behaved.
Yeah, that's
I can tell that
awesome.
Mrs. Fitz, this is just her jam. She's a born kindergarten teacher. She had them all sat down, everybody focused, eyes forward. It was a great day.
I love it. What a great opportunity.
Yeah, it was a good time. So big shout out to them. Big shout out to you for joining us here on Fox Local. And we will do this again tomorrow at noon. It'll obviously be a big day tomorrow as we track the potential severe weather. So don't miss it. We'll see you on Fox Local.